All right, my beloved Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Madrid, where it's been pouring rain for like a week. We're all losing our minds. Okay, I put out a kind of cartoonish thumbnail for this video, but there's absolutely nothing funny about what's happening to our squad because it is a veritable mess. Okay, Vini can't play tomorrow because he accumulated too many yellow cards. Rodrigo got injured because Pintus is back and he's beating the crap out of the players because they weren't in proper shape. Jude is injured. Trent is available to play, but we don't know if he's sort of fit enough to start from the beginning. The left backs are apparently quite pissed off. Fran and Carreras were a little bit upset that Camavinga started the prior match as left back, and the two sort of, in theory, natural left backs were sitting on the bench. So there are sort of rumors of kind of player discontent still around these issues. The only good news that I have for you guys in this video is that I'm going to do my first watch along tomorrow night, which I think you guys will find funny because I'll talk about tactics, but I'm planning on injecting a little bit of humor into it as well. So I think you guys will have a lot of fun with that. My tech guy's going to be with me to make sure I don't screw anything up. But otherwise, this is just a real mess. So I want to talk about what the possible lineups could be in Mestalla. And, this is one of those matches where there's so many different permutations that we could see depending on what Arbeloa wants to do. So it's very, very hard to predict, but I'll give you my best guess. Okay, thanks for joining me as always. And let's talk about this really tricky situation at Real Madrid and what to expect tomorrow night. Let's get started. Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, like I say, I'm really looking forward to doing this watch along tomorrow, which what I'm going to try to do is like tell you guys what I observe tactically as the match goes on. But inevitably, I think you guys will have fun. It's funny when you grow up with two languages, it's really weird how your mind associates some subjects with one language and others with another. So if I'm discussing financial markets with my friends, I always think in English, but when I'm watching football and something happens, my reactions are always in Spanish. So, you're likely to learn a few new words in Spanish. It's really weird how the mind works, but yeah, you'll probably hear some really interesting expletives in Spanish, so you will learn a few interesting words. But anyway, hopefully you'll join me for that, which I'm looking forward to doing. Like I say, my tech guy will be with me to make sure I don't screw anything up. But anyway, let's talk about the match tomorrow. And the reason that I think this is just a giant mess is because I mean, if you compound the injuries with now the cards and sanctions and players that were already playing out of position, this is just a giant mess. And I think that this match really exposes it because, okay, who's going to play on the left wing tomorrow? Okay, who's going to play on the left wing? Who's going to play left back? I think Carreras will come back, but okay, that's kind of a question mark. Who's going to play right back? And what happens in the right back position affects the midfield, because if he starts Fede as right back, then of course you're probably going to have Tchouaméni and Camavinga as in the middle of the pitch with Arda. But if Trent is fit to play, that's going to push Fede into the middle of the pitch with Tchouaméni and then Arda a little bit further forward. So what happens in the right back position will naturally have an effect on what happens in the midfield. And then, we also have a bit of a mess. One thing, before we continue with the lineup, one thing I do want to mention, and I was just talking to my uncle who's coming back on the 13th, because he's going to be with me at the Real Sociedad match on the 14th. But we were talking about kind of the vibe and what's going on in the locker room, and he very right. He said we should have never. He said this before Modric left. He said, Modric, we should have kept him another year. He says we should have kept him another year. He's a player that it can give you 20 or 30 fabulous minutes with incredible, his ability to control the ball and to make good decisions on the pitch. I mean, do you prefer Modric at this point to play 30 minutes or Ceballos? I mean, this is the situation that we're in, and I have to say that given what's happening in the dressing room with all the young players and all this kind of discontent, which is not something that we're used to and not something that is acceptable at Real Madrid, it would make a difference to have a senior player to keep these kids in line. And I think that Modric, in addition to the minutes that he could give us on the pitch, he would have also given us a little bit of leadership and a little bit of guidance, not just on the pitch, but in the dressing room, in terms of kind of, dealing with these young kids and for them to have a reference. So I think that my uncle is absolutely right. We should have kept Modric one more year, and I think that it would have brought a lot more balance in critical moments of matches, and I think especially in the dressing room. So, he's older than I am and wiser than I am, and sometimes it really, really shows. So I just want to mention that too. And another thing I wanted to tell you guys about is, so Pintus is back in charge of the physical preparation of the squad. And in the last couple of days, they've been doing tests. Pintus loves to experiment with technology. Okay, he loves tech. And they do these experiments with these special masks, and they measure at certain levels of oxygen how a player can perform, right? They do sprints, then they do long runs, so they test absolutely everything depending at different levels of oxygen to see how efficiently the players are processing the oxygen. And it's really interesting that who came out first in those tests of the whole squad? Arda Güler. It's amazing. Arda came out with the most efficient oxygen processing of the whole squad. In second place was Fran Garcia, which I thought was really interesting. Fran is a player that we know does run a lot. I mean, he runs sometimes like a chicken with his head cut off, but he does run a lot, and I'm kind of maybe not that surprised to see him there. In third place was Fede Valverde. This is definitely not surprising because Fede, when you see him on the pitch, it's like he has three lungs. So I'm not surprised Fede was up there. And then the fourth player that performed the best was Alaba, which I thought was really surprising because, he has been practicing very, very intensely, but he hasn't been playing that much, not that many minutes. I was really surprised to see Alaba there. But the point is that Pintus, in his view, the players are just not where they need to be at this stage of the season physically, and he's beating the living crap out of them. Okay, and part of that was resulted in Rodrigo getting injured, and these things do happen sometimes in training. But I confess that I'm happy to see Pintus back. I think that on the whole, he's done a very good job with the squad over the years. So I'm kind of happy that he's getting the players back in shape. And if you risk a muscular injury in training from time to time, I mean, just comes with the territory. But anyway, I thought that was, by the way, let me show you guys this. This is the level of detail that the analysis goes to, right? When you use all these funky machines. Look at Arda Güler's profile. I mean, they analyze, you can't even read all the components in here. It's like they measure everything, like how many sprints, the distance per sprint, how many long runs. They analyze absolutely everything. These players are like lab rats. It's incredible. The amount of technology and amount of work that goes into preparing these athletes is extraordinary. But I thought it was very interesting that that came out top. Okay, let's go back to the lineup situation, which is just a cataclysmic disaster. Now, as right back, we're going to have three options. It can be Trent, if he's ready to start from the beginning. It could be Carvajal, because Carvajal has been available, last couple of matches, but he hasn't really played. But he is fit to play. So I don't know if Arbeloa is going to venture to start Carvajal. Maybe Trent. I suspect it could be Trent. I think he's going to want Trent to start from the beginning, I think. Now, if he's particularly paranoid, he'll play Fede. If he wants to be very cautious, he'll play Fede as right back. And of course, that'll have an impact on what happens in the middle of the pitch, as I described. Now, up front, personally, I think that in the left back position, I think he'll bring Carreras back. I know that Fran and Carreras were a little bit pissed off that Camavinga played left back in the prior match. Of course, Fran Garcia was about to go to Bournemouth in the Premier League, and those negotiations that fell through in the very, very last minute. But he was getting ready to go on loan to Bournemouth. But no, he's still here. But I suspect that the left back will be Carreras in this case. Now, up front, we have an equal mess because Vini has an accumulation of yellows, can't play. Rodrigo's injured. So now what do? Now, you can play Kylian as a 9, right? But then who do you play on the left wing? Because I mean, unless you play Fran as a kind of winger, which he could, or you try to play Ceballos as a winger, or you try to play Gonzalo as a left winger, which that he's never tried before. But what are you going to do? That's if you want to keep Kylian as a 9. Now, another thing that you could do is push Kylian to the left, which is something that he's done for years and seemed to enjoy at PSG and with France. I mean, he played a lot of games as a left winger, and he likes that. We could push Kylian to the left, use Gonzalo as a number 9, and then on the right wing, you're going to have Brahim or Mastantuono. Now, Mastantuono in the last couple of matches has driven me to pull my own hair out. You know, that's why I look like this. And I think that if I were Arbeloa, I would not start Mastantuono again. I think he's had back-to-back poor matches. I think Brahim is probably in a slightly better shape, and that would be my guess. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. First of all, we don't know if it's going to be a 4-3-3. I suspect it will. But Kylian can play as a 9, or he can play on the left. But again, there are so many permutations here because, there's just so many pieces that could be moved around. Even if you think about the center back position, I'm assuming that Huijsen is going to start, and I'm assuming that Asensio is okay to start, but he's been kind of, a bit iffy physically. He has some sort of a nagging injury and hasn't been able to complete matches. Now, if Asensio is okay, I suspect he will be center back, but if not, you're going to have to use Tchouaméni as a center back. Now, if you do that, that's going to alter the midfield again, and then you'll end up with Camavinga and Fede as sort of, in the midfield and Arda a little bit further up. So this is a very, very tricky one to guess, really, really tricky. But my best guess in terms of what we'll see, well, let me put it this way. What I would do, I would start with Courtois in goal. I would start with Carreras on the left, Huijsen and Asensio if they're available. I would start Trent from the beginning because he has been training with the squad regularly, and it's been multiple training sessions where he's participated in the entirety of the training session. I think he's a player that we brought with great fanfare. I think that he should probably start. If he's available, it's certainly who I would start to try to get him back into rhythm. In the middle of the pitch, I would play Tchouaméni, Fede, and Arda as a number 10. That's his best position. Don't push Arda further back, and don't waste him on the right wing. Play him as a 10. That's when we get the most out of him. He connects extremely well with the forwards. That's what I would do. And then up front, this is what I would do. And you guys can tell me what you think. I would put Kylian on the left, okay? Just for nostalgia's sake. Put Kylian on the left, Gonzalo as a number 9, which is this is what he does. And then I would put Brahim on the right wing because I'm very disappointed with what Mastantuono has done recently. So that is what I would do. Now, remember, Mestalla is a very tricky stadium. The atmosphere is really, really intense. When Real Madrid goes to Mestalla, it's like the whole city is just waiting to sort of, it's a very big deal, and the crowd gets very intense. It's one of the most vertical stadiums in the world. I saw this in a report I saw about different stadiums around the world. Mestalla is very vertical. It does get quite loud. Now, Vini will not be on the pitch, and that's something that typically has really fueled the crowd in Mestalla. He's had really horrible experiences there. You're not going to have Vini on the pitch, so that might die the atmosphere down a little bit, but I'm sure they'll find something else to be pissed off at. But it is a high-tension atmosphere in a high-tension stadium that we've always sort of, struggled with. So, look, that is the best guess, in my opinion, as to what we're going to see tomorrow. Again, this is messy. The players don't seem particularly happy. There are a lot of rumors coming out. A lot of the radio stations and a lot of the mainstream media here are ferociously and notoriously and famously, and this is documented, anti-Madridistas, and they love to stir the pot and say that this player's pissed off and that player's pissed off. So it's very hard to know how much of this is true or not, but there are echoes of discontent among the players, and it's just a really tricky situation. And if you overlay the cards and you overlay the injuries and the fact that this is a team that is already playing half the squad in out of position, or many pieces of the puzzle, 3-4 or at a minimum. This is messy. This is a very, very messy situation. So I'm, very curious to see if the team can come back. We had 2 good games with Arbeloa when he first started, and I documented the improvements very scientifically because it's what I was seeing on the pitch. But unfortunately, we've taken 2 steps back, and we're back to very inconsistent football, very dubious and very indecisive football. A very porous midfield. We lose the ball very easily under pressure. We can't seem to retain the ball. It takes us forever to get it back. It's just we're definitely not seeing the kind of football that we want, and we're all praying to see some improvement. So anyway, all right, I'll be doing a watch along, like I say. I hope you guys will join me for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But those are my thoughts ahead of this match. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Love you guys, and as always and forever, a la Madrid.